And from there, we do the third step prayer, Rob.
You got it, Leo. Hi, everybody. My name is Rob K. I'm a recovered alcoholic. And the third step prayer, which can be found on page 63 of your big book. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. That I do thy will always.
All right. And good news today, we're starting a brand new chapter. It is for the family afterward. And that is on page 122. All right. So we're in these the latter chapters of the book. Um, this is going to be again some sage advice for those that are sponsoring, and at the same time, obviously with the family and some of the things that might go on with regard to recovery and their involvement. So, without further ado, Rob, let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, page 122, everybody. Chapter 9, Family Afterward. Our womenfolk have suggested certain attitudes a wife may take with the husband who is recovering. Perhaps they created the impression that he is to be wrapped in cotton wool and placed on a pedestal. Successful readjustment means the opposite. All members of the family should meet upon the common ground of tolerance, understanding, and love. This involves a process of deflation. The alcoholic, his wife, his children, his in laws, each one is likely to have fixed ideas about the family's attitude towards himself or herself. Each is interested in having his or her wishes respected. We find the more one member of the family demands that the others concede to him, the more resentful they become. This makes for discord and unhappiness.
Sure does. So each element of the family are going to have different needs and wants. They're going to approach it at a different place and a level of maturity. Obviously, if there are young kids involved, there's going to be a need for this to be broken down so that a child would understand what is going on and the good that is coming out of everything. They are somewhat resilient and responsive to positive outcomes. So as long as things are kept positive in such a way that they can absorb they can bounce back pretty quickly. If it's an older group of children, it's going to take some time and some listening and some talking to in order to kind of identify with what their needs and wants are and see what is going to be able to be accomplished. Obviously, the outside um, relatives, such as in-laws, as they say here. I can give an example that I've been very upfront and open with my in-laws. They are well aware of my recovery and very, very supportive of it. We go to visit. They make things very easy and uh, well, they just make things very easy to be in existence. And even though my mother-in-law will have a glass of wine while she's fixing dinner, type of thing, it's very much out of the way. It's not there's nothing there that would would succumb would have me being enticed or pushed in any way, shape, form, or fashion. But they are very supportive as well, obviously. And I think I may have mentioned this. My father-in-law has actually written a book on alcoholism, and so he's very understanding and resource to talk to when I feel like bringing the topic up and discussing. Sometimes he brings it up with me, and we have a good dialogue because of it, which is just another way of reinforcing my sobriety by doing so. So idea here, and I think this is probably goes without saying, and we'll get into this, is that be upfront, be open, be honest, allow people to express themselves uh, and identify with, like I said, the needs and wants, and at the level that they need to have things acknowledged. Little wordy there, Rob. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, far from it, Leo. Way to go. The family afterward, it's after the alcoholic has adopted the spiritual way of life. It's a change in dynamics that now that the alcoholic is now sober. For so many years, the family has had to go and do their own thing because they could not count on the alcoholic to be either sober, awake, or around. So they've had to do their own thing. They've gone and done whatever they need to do and have forgot about the alcoholic. So now that the alcoholic is sober, and you notice I'm saying alcoholic, I'm not saying the man. I'm trying to be gender neutral because, hey, it might be a woman that is the alcoholic, or it might be the man. So gender neutral here. Thank you, Kik, and I appreciate the thumbs up there. And so with the changing, the whole idea is the changing dynamic. Now, and a couple of other things to note here. This is the only place where recovering is used in the first portion of the book. Okay. And there is recovery, which is on page 143, and that's used quite a few times. So, the whole idea is that this involves a process of deflation. Where have we heard that before? Okay. Where we've heard deflation before is when Bill was trying to sober people up and Bill was trying to hit people with his white light experience. Dr. Silkworth said to him, Bill, you have to deflate these people. Okay. Now, what is deflation? Deflation is reducing self-centered concern, reducing in size of importance. So everybody has got, what they think should be done. We got to reduce these people. Okay. And instead of thinking about ourselves, we have to think about everybody. And this also goes for the family members. Okay. It's not just the alcoholic who has to deflate his ego. Everybody in the family does, so that we can all get together harmoniously. Tolerance, understanding, and love are the watchwords. So page 122, everybody. Okay. And why? It is not because each wants to play the lead. Is not each trying to arrange the family show to his liking? Is he not unconsciously trying to see what he can take from the family life rather than give?
Yeah, so we're kind of seeing some people that are jockeying for position, and they obviously want to reconnect with the alcoholic member of the family. And in doing so, it is that they want to be heard and they want to be acknowledged. And I think that part of this is going to be, as the chapter unfolds here, is going to be how to address that challenge of making each and everyone feel as important as the other going forward. Rob?
Now, doesn't that line remind you on page 73? More than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. He is very much the actor. To the outer world, he presents a stage character. To the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart that he doesn't deserve it. Here we go again. Each wants to play the lead. Everybody wants to take over. So we have to deflate. Okay, I like that word. I got to stop using that word though. And we just have to integrate ourselves back into the family. Okay, so everybody's got to have a little bit of patience, a little bit of tolerance, and a little bit of love. Cessation from drinking is but the first step away from a highly strained, abnormal condition. A doctor said to us, years of living with an alcoholic is almost sure to make any wife or child neurotic. The entire family is, to some extent, ill. Let families realize as they start their journey that all will not be fair weather. Each in his turn may be footsore and may straggle.
The idea here is that is we're it's a process, and the journey is just beginning. I guess as they say here, it is but the first step. You're going to be everybody's going to be a little bit ill, and in doing so, and in being so, they're going to have some speed bumps along the way as they continue to heal and get better and come together. And the idea here is very much that is the family coming back together in a positive way that uh, erases or melts away all of the ill feelings and the hurt and the isolation that has been caused by the alcoholic. Rob?
Yeah, in the chapter before, in the two wives, okay, they mentioned the fact that, we didn't invite people over to our homes anymore. The children didn't invite people over to their home. Why? Because the alcoholic would be drunk and would embarrass them. Well, now it's a question of bringing it all back. You know, it will take a little bit of time, but then they'll come back. They can invite people over to the house. We can be social again. Okay, but it's a process, you know, so it's all learning. So slowly, page 123, right at the top of the page, there will be alluring shortcuts and bypass down which they may wander and lose their way. Suppose we tell you some of the obstacles a family will meet. Suppose we suggest how they may be avoided, even converted to good use for others. The family of an alcoholic longs for the return to happiness and security. They remember when father was romantic, thoughtful, and successful. Today's life is measured against that of other years, and when it falls short, the family may be unhappy.
Sure. And they're going to be somewhat impatient, I think, in wanting to get back to those good feelings and that sense of security and love, and so there's going to be some anxiousness in regards to that. So that is something to watch out for. It's something to identify with and actually acknowledge and sit down and talk about. It family as long they're going to want to return to that happiness and as soon and they're going to want to get there sooner than it might be physically and emotionally possible. So it's a process that everybody should be patient with and work through going into this and I think as we see along as we get along here, good communication is going to be key. Bob?
Yes. You know, there will be learned shortcuts and bypass down which they may wander and lose their way, the softer, easier way. You know, suppose we tell you some of the obstacles. Bill's gonna tell us how to get around some of these things, how we can deal with it. That's one thing I love about the big book. It doesn't leave you hanging. That you got to figure it out for yourself. They help you out. How can we do something to help others? You know, and here, time takes time. It's gonna take time. How much time? I can't tell you that. Nobody can. Okay. How long does it take for people to trust us again? It's for some people, it's quickly, others it's slowly. They talk about in the promises, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. It all happens, but it takes time. Family confidence in dad is rising high. The good old days will soon be back, they think. Sometimes they demand that dad bring them back instantly. God, they believe, almost owes us recompense on a long overdue account. But the head of the house has spent years in pulling down the structures of business, romance, friendship, health. These things are now ruined or damaged. It will take time to clear away the wreck. The old buildings will eventually be replaced by finer ones. The new structures will take years to complete.
Yeah, and I think that's an important point here that this can take years. I know I can speak from experience that it has taken years for my family actually trust that my sobriety and my recovery was real and that it was going to be sustained. And um, you know, the confidence that they've had in me has been in some cases rather fleeting, and it's kind of a wait and see kind of thing. Um, but I've, you know, I think that the other part of it too is the alcoholic, the one that's recovering, also wants these things to come back quickly. I can also speak from experience that I wanted it to be all great right away, which wasn't going to be the case. But I think it just needs to absorb this part of the book and realize that this is going to take some time and it is going to take some work. So, Rob?
Yeah, and one of the things I wanted to mention, and I when I read the paragraph, was Bill. Bill Wilson, our founder, became sober December 11th, 1934. The book was published, I believe, April 10th, 1939. Bill Wilson, sober approximately 4 years. Okay. The book is published, comes out, gets kicked out of his home for not paying the mortgage. He has no money. And you know what? But it's the most important thing for him at that time, okay, was to carry this message. He struggled. Him and his wife lived, bounced around from place to place. You know, they were living at I think the 124th clubhouse for a couple of years. They bounced around to different, people that would take them in, bed hopping, or what we call today couch surfing. And you know what? It took him a long time until he was making a living, that they were able to buy their own place at Stepping Stones. And that was through, book sales. But they went, and also Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob's practice never really picked up the way, most doctors would hope, you know, but he worked with people and has spent so much time. Bill tried to get a grant for Dr. Bob, in order to keep him going. You know, they tried to get money from the Rockefellers, not only for their big grandiose plans, but just to survive, you know, and that's what they did so that we could be here today. It to me, it's amazing when I think back of what they did, you know, and my hat's off to them because I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
I would find it, sorry, Leo?
No, I was just going to say it'd be tough. It would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
tough.
No money, you know, Dr. Bob had two kids. He had a wife. He had a house. Okay. Bill didn't have, he had a wife who stuck by him. Thank God. They mention in the book that, alcoholics marry the finest people. And, it certainly, goes to prove that. Father knows he is to blame. It may take him many seasons of hard work to be restored financially, but he shouldn't be reproached. Perhaps he will never have much money again, but the wise family will admire him for what he is trying to be rather than for what he is trying to get.
Yeah, this is where it's really tough. It's the what he's trying to be is a good, upstanding citizen, a loving father or mother or otherwise, and somebody that is contributing, but in such a way that it's not just about the money. It's about the recovery and it's about the relationships that are being mended and built and renewed. So this is really something that has to be reminded of to everyone that it isn't about that dollar in hand. It's about what is the person that's recovering is trying to be, and that's an important. It's important that we emphasize that. Rob?
Now and then the family will be plagued by specters from the past, for the drinking career of almost every alcoholic has been marked by escapades, funny, humiliating, shameful, or tragic. The first impulse will be to bury these skeletons in a dark closet and padlock the door. The family may be possessed by the idea that future happiness can be based only upon forgetfulness of the past. We think that such a view is self-centered and in direct conflict with the new way of living.
Yeah, I think the idea here is what they're trying, and obviously what they're trying to say is not to shut things off, not to bury things, not to not deal with things, but in otherwise is to get them out in the open and on above the table, as opposed to above board, I guess is the way to say it, and to actually face them head on and deal with them directly, not try to brush them under the carpet. Rob?
Yeah, which makes me think of the promises. We do not wish to shut the door on the past. Why? Because we can use it to help somebody else. Okay. Hopefully, the mistakes that I made in life, I can pass on to other people and they won't repeat them. Hopefully. There's no guarantee on it, but we use our experience, strength, and hope with other people, in order to not only become, so that we have something in common, a common bond, you know, but that you can see that I was where you were or similar. We had similar paths. Okay. And that I got out of that path. And if you follow what I did, you will get the same results, you know? So, first paragraph on page 124, everybody. Henry Ford once made a wise remark to the effect that experience is the thing of supreme value in life. That is true only if one is willing to turn the past to good account. We grow by our willingness to face and rectify errors and convert them into assets. The alcoholic's past thus becomes the principal asset of the family, and frequently it is almost the only one.
Sure. This is um, wanting to turn bad into good. It's the idea of learning from our mistakes and dealing with those mistakes, addressing the mistakes, and really coming up with a good resolution to not repeat those mistakes, obviously, but also to as learning from them. What is it that can be done differently? And instead of choosing the tragic, they're choosing happiness and the positive in trying to deal with things in such a way where there is good communication and the like. Rob?
This painful past may be of infinite value to other families still struggling with their problem. We think each family which has been relieved owes something to those who have not, and when the occasion requires, each member of it should be only too willing to bring former mistakes, no matter how grievous, out of their hiding place. Showing others who suffer how we were given help is the very thing which makes life seem so worthwhile to us now. Cling to the thought that in God's hands, the dark past is the greatest possession you have, the key to life and happiness for others, whether you can avert death and misery for them.
Yeah, and this is kind of an expansion of step 12. It's basically working with others as far as the family is concerned, also being able to be in a position to help other families of struggling alcoholics and those that are trying to recover as well. I think that this was much more prevalent in the late 30s and 40s in a time when families were a lot closer and the relationships were a lot stronger. I don't believe it is quite the same now, but nonetheless, it's not without the husband or spouse, wife or spouse could reach out to another spouse of a alcoholic and provide some of the insight that's gained by their recovering member of their family. So it's an important thing. It helps, obviously. It helps for the family to recover. It helps ensure the recovery just as much as it is an alcoholic working with another alcoholic. It has the same effect and something that should be embraced. Rob?
Yeah, showing others who suffer how we were given help is the very thing which makes life seem so worthwhile to us now. You know, we talk about step 12. Practical experience shows that nothing so much as work with another alcoholic, ensure our sobriety. You know, no, Bill's saying that, you know what? The spouse of the alcoholic can help another spouse. Al-Anon. Okay. How did you deal with it? How did you put up with it for so long? What did you do? And then the children of the alcoholic can help children of another alcoholic that is not sober yet. So experience, strength, and hope, we're using it, all these things to help other people.
Mhm.
And when we do, we get out of ourselves, we stop thinking about ourselves, and we're helping other people. That's what God wants us to do. That's what our higher power is mandating, is that we help other people, you know. It is possible to dig up past misdeeds so they become a blight, a veritable plague. For example, we know of situations in which the alcoholic or his wife have had love affairs. In the first flush of spiritual experience, they forgave each other and drew closer together. The miracle of reconciliation was at hand. Then, under one provocation or another, the aggrieved one would unearth the old affair and angrily cast its ashes about. A few of us have had these growing pains, and they hurt a great deal. Husbands and wives have sometimes been obliged to separate for a time until new perspective, new victory over hurt pride could be re-won. In most cases, the alcoholic survived this ordeal without relapse, but not always. So we think that unless some good and useful purpose is to be served, past occurrences should not be discussed.
Yeah, and I think that what we're talking about here is that there's got to be some discernment in regards to what is brought up, brought out in the open. What is it that is necessary for the family to discuss and to deal with? What is it that the family might bring up as examples and solutions for others to benefit from? And there are certain things that I think that once, and we say this is that to make amends unless to try and make amends unless additional pain or uh, negative emotions would be brought up. The idea here is that some things just don't need to be brought up. They would be hurtful. They would evoke a negative response, and we're not trying to do that. We're trying to, um, like I said to begin with, discern between what is important to be brought up and dealt with, as opposed to what should be kept in wraps and left alone for the reasons we just discussed. And Rob
So I
put,
love this line.
go ahead, Rob.
Okay. Yeah, I love this line. So we think that unless some good and useful purpose is to be served, past occurrences should not be discussed. Unless it's going to bring some resolve. Usually the other person knows that you've been stepping out. Usually, you know, but if they don't, you know, as Leo said, step 9, may direct them into such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. We have to keep in mind, we're not, we're not trying to hurt people. Okay. So that's why things like this sometimes need to be kept quiet. It doesn't do any useful purpose. Okay. It might take some guilt off the person that did the fooling around, but all it's doing is pushing it on the other person. And that is not fair. We make things right with who? With our higher power. We families of Alcoholics Anonymous keep few skeletons in the closet. Everyone knows about the other's alcoholic's trouble. This is a condition which in ordinary life would produce untold grief. There might be scandalous gossip, laughter at the expense of other people, and a tendency to take advantage of intimate information. Among us, these are rare occurrences. We do talk about each other a great deal, but we almost invariably temper such talk by a spirit of love and tolerance.
Yes, and that's part of the mantra here with regard to Alcoholics Anonymous, and the word anonymous there is used quite well here. The idea here is that love and tolerance needs to be the approach. Those that would use this information against us in such a way that even if it was behind your back, this is one of those areas where you have to kind of be smart about how much you disclose, what you talk about, how you deal with it, etc. And in some cases, it's just not necessary for somebody to know this piece of information. You know, maybe it's an employer, maybe it's a peer at work that might be competitive in some nature. You have to just watch out for some of that, and also, you know, how some of the stay-at-home spouses might get to the point of talking about each other and causing some scandalous gossip and hurt feelings if it does get back around. So things have got to be tempered. There is again this word discernment as far as what is shared and what is dealt with in the open. So with that, it is important to protect the family as a whole and make sure that those that are a member of the family are not exposed to that kind of ridicule. Rob?
Yeah, and on page 84, the step 10, you know, they talk about love and tolerance of others is our code. Love and tolerance. We have to remember that. Another principle we observe carefully is that we do not relate intimate experiences of another person unless we are sure he or she would approve. We find it better when possible to stick to our own story. A man may criticize or laugh at himself, and it will affect others favorably, but criticism or ridicule coming from another often produces contrary effect. Members of a family should watch such matters carefully, for one careless, inconsiderate remark has been known to raise the very devil. We alcoholics are sensitive people. It takes some of us a long time to outgrow that serious handicap.
Yeah, it's an understatement when we say we alcoholics are sensitive people. Um, this is really one of those keep your mouth shut when you're talking or when it's about someone else. So if it's about you and you feel comfortable enough in sharing and putting it out there, whether you make light of it and or you bring it up as something to share with somebody so that you can provide, you know, here's what happened to me, here's what I did in order to get through it and provide that solution. That's up to you. But if it's about someone else, then it should be kept private unless you know for sure, meaning you have permission essentially to share the information with someone else. So stick to your own story as it relates to you. The recovering alcoholic spouse can talk about the spouse's experience and not necessarily about the alcoholic, even if it is well known that there is an alcoholic in the family. Unless you are in the midst of the alcoholic, and the alcoholic is certainly talking on their own. Rob?
I can make fun of myself, okay? But if Leo is going to start to make fun of me, then I'm going to get resentful. And what is the worst thing for an alcoholic? Resentment is the number one offender. You know, because, you know, if for me, I can make fun, but when Leo does it, it's hurtful. It hurts my ego. It hurts my pride, and it's also for sponsors. Whatever is related to you from your sponsee stays between you and sponsee. It doesn't get spread about. That's gossip. Okay? We don't gossip about people because it causes problems. Okay? We keep it to ourselves. Okay? Please remember that. We don't want resentments. Many alcoholics are enthusiasts. They run to extremes. At the beginning of recovery, a man will take, as a rule, one of two directions. He may either plunge into a frantic attempt to get on his feet in business, or he may be so enthralled by his new life that he talks or thinks of little else. In either case, certain family problems will arise. With these, we have had experience galore.
Yes, and we're getting into this now. A new part of this is that alcoholics, as being an enthusiast, they run to extremes and get really involved in stuff. We've heard the one of the primary examples in that is that the recovering alcoholic jumps in with both feet into AA and then is consumed by multiple meetings in a day, multiple members of AA that they're talking to and working with at the expense and time not spent with the family and others. Um, the idea here is that um, this can cause problems, and it needs to be identified, and it needs to be talked about, and hopefully a balance can be achieved. And as we'll see going forward, that's the end result is that there's a good balance in life um, with regard to this stuff. But
Yeah, it's like how many people have we met in the fellowship, and all of a sudden they're going to become addiction counselors. They're rushing headlong into that's all they want to do, which is it's a noble cause. But the thing is that what? We have a family at home. We have to think about them too. We need balance in life. And if somebody can help me with balance, I would love it because I am terrible with that myself. I try, but I don't always. I spend a lot of time in Zoom meetings, you know, helping out, but I'm retired. So my time is a little bit more flexible than, Leo, who's still working,
right,
So, you know, but it's all balance. We have to balance out our lives. We spent so much time being selfish and self-centered. Now the family wants a little bit of our time, and we have to be able to give it to them. And if we're constantly in an AA meeting, okay, or we're rushing out to help other people, it's a noble cause, but we also have a responsibility at home. So it's a balancing act. We're never going to be perfect. But what do have we learned? Step 10. When we make a mistake, okay, we own up to it, we deal with it. Okay? We realize the things that are going on in our lives and we deal with it. We think it dangerous if he rushes headlong at his economic problem. The family will be affected also, pleasantly at first, as they feel their money troubles are about to be solved, then not so pleasantly as they find themselves neglected. Dad may be tired at night and preoccupied by day. He may take small interest in the children and may show irritation when reproved for his delinquencies. Not irritable, he may seem dull and boring, not gay and affectionate as the family would like him to be. Mother may complain of inattention. They are all disappointed and often let him feel it. Beginning with such complaints, a barrier arises. He is straining every nerve to make up for lost time. He is striving to recover fortune and reputation and feels he is doing very well.
yeah, this is a tough place when the recovering alcoholic is struggling to be all things to all people. One, they've jumped back in to try to earn some money so that they can get back up on their financial feet and provide for the family. Depending on the type of job that they have, that might be physical in nature, for example. And they come home and they're exhausted from a hard day at work, and it's they find satisfaction with that hard day at work, and they find satisfaction with being tired at the end of the day because there's a sense of accomplishment with that. However, the family, has been waiting patiently in most cases all day for them to come home, and they want to experience the non-alcoholic life again. And and they're frustrated because all the recovering alcoholic wants to do is to just sit in a chair and watch TV and relax. Maybe they grab a shower and clean up, and they eat and fall asleep. That's just a scenario. I'm just sharing that this might be where there's some frustration and some resentment. The obvious things is that obviously the spouse wants some attention, the kids want attention. They're going to be uh, hard to appease because they don't understand completely. So this is just something to watch out for, and that it's again a nice balance there. It may be at least as they're getting their work feet underneath them again, almost impossible to be not be exhausted when they get home. Maybe it's not even a physical job. Maybe it is one that requires a lot of thinking and a lot of work that way, and that can be mentally tiresome, which can have a similar effect when they get home. So yeah, it's I guess the idea is it's something to watch out for, but it's going to be difficult, and it's going to have to be where there is a good dose of communication needs to be had so that everybody is again heard, everybody's acknowledged, and at least everybody knows that there is at least some awareness of what their needs and wants are. Rob?
It all comes back to balance. You know, whether we put all our effort into helping another alcoholic or whether we spend all our time trying to make up the money that we lost when we were drinking, you know, there are certain expectations that the family had when you were going to get sober. When you were going to get sober, we're going to be able to go out together to go see a movie. We're going to be able to, go and watch our son, play his baseball game. The son is going to, or daughter is going to be excited that the alcoholic is now going to come to their games. We all have expectations. We have to temper these expectations with reality, but we all do have expectations. Most resentments stem from the fact that I expect you to do a certain thing, and when you don't do it, I get upset. So this is for the family too. We have to have balance. Yeah, we have to temper our expectations. Remember, love and tolerance is our code. Okay. It takes time. Okay. And we're trying to bring balance into our life. Sometimes mother and children don't think so. Having been neglected and misused in the past, they think father owes them more than they're getting. They want him to make a fuss over them. They expect him to give them the nice things they used to have before he drank so much, and to show his contrition for what they suffered. But dad doesn't give freely of himself. Resentments grow. He becomes less communicative. Sometimes he explodes over a trifle. The family is mystified. They criticize, pointing out how he is falling down on his spiritual program.
Okay, we're into an example of poor communication. We're into where there is an imbalance with regard to priorities, and we're just trying to show that this is obviously possible, and this is realistic. There isn't a time where this probably hasn't happened to most of us, where we were spending time with AA, for example, and the spouse or family is in the background, kind of anxiously waiting for them for the recovering alcoholic to stop and move on. It is a tough thing to be. Resentments do grow. It causes explosions, explosions. It just causes outbursts. So that's probably the better word to use. And I think that it's people get bewildered, they are baffled, they are and if they really look at it, basically they just want to be heard. But in some cases they might be being a bit selfish, including the alcoholic. So it's an idea here is that a good family discussion round table type of thing, I think would be important to achieve and get out in the open and be able to talk about. Not in the heat of the moment so much as when there's time and everybody's on an even keel and not feeling quite so much pressure and strain with regard to the things that are going on. For example, right at the end of the day, when the recovering alcoholic's coming home from work and is tired and not really wanting to deal with anything. Rob?
Yeah, this, we have to avoid retaliation, argument, resentments, obviously, because what will happen is that the alcoholic will sit there and go, I got sober for this. And the one thing I love is that Bill is not going to leave us at this point. Bill's going to show us what we need to do or how we can get through this. And that's what I love about this book is that, they don't leave you hanging. Yeah, you're going to have problems in your life. You're going to have to figure out how to deal with them. No, Bill's going to help us out right now. This sort of thinking can be avoided. Both father and the family are mistaken. Though each side may have some justification, it is of little use to argue and only makes the impasse worse. The family must realize that Dad, though marvelously improved, is still convalescing. They should be thankful he is sober and able to be of this world once more. Let them praise his progress. Let them remember that his drinking wrought all kinds of damage that may take long to repair. If they sense these things, they will not take so seriously as periods of crankiness, depression, or apathy, which will disappear when there is tolerance, love, and spiritual understanding.
So this is in that area where you've got to exhibit some maturity, even for the kids at their level, and remember that this person is now sober. The recovering alcoholic is now sober, and that's an important aspect of all of this. That the sobriety is an important element, and that now we're not in the dark side of things where the alcoholic was drinking. And obviously, things were isolated. Everybody was withdrawn. They're quiet. They were fearful, and now all of that can be gone. And so sometimes being reminded of that can help allay some of the what's the word I'm looking for? The anxiousness with regard to trying to get that time, that quality time with the recovering alcoholic. So remember that the recovering alcoholic is still recovering. They're trying really hard. They've done great things so far by being sober, number one, and now that they have begun to do the additional work that comes with that to truly be recovered, it just is going to take some patience and some understanding to get through. And while that's hard, it is something that they should be reminded of and realize that at the very least, they are now in the midst of a recovering alcoholic, one that is sober. And that's an important element. Rob?
Remember the step 10 code. Love and tolerance of others is our code. Okay? Love and tolerance of others. That deals also with not just with the alcohol, but with the other people in the family too. Patience, tolerance, understanding, and love. Okay, we all need to have this because we're not always going to live up to the expectations of others. So we have to have patience, tolerance, and love. The head of the house ought to remember that he is mainly to blame for what befell his home. He can scarcely square the account in his lifetime, but he must see the danger of over-concentration on financial success. Although financial recovery is on the way for many of us, we found we could not place money first. Important point here, underlined, highlighted. For us, material well-being always followed spiritual progress. It never preceded.
Yeah, and that underlined section there that Rob just identified as a warning. It is for us material well-being always followed spiritual progress, never preceded. So remember that this is a message really for the recovering alcoholic that they need to first have a spiritual awakening. They need to be working in spiritual ways, and in doing so, that will provide good, effective communication with the family. It will soften the response by the family. It will actually probably identify with a lot of the needs and wants of the family, and uh, and that's important to recovery. Now, obviously, you want to try to get back to work. You want to try to make some money. You want to try to get things back up on their feet. Today is probably even more so than it used to be. There's not as many people out there willing to help out as there used to be in that regard. So financial recovery is certainly an element there, but it isn't the main and primary focus. In fact, for a recovering alcoholic, it might be that their main focus is from the spiritual recovery, that they begin to work with other alcoholics and and do that. And that's where we hear a lot of times that there's imbalance, where there's a lot of time spent with AA and not with the family. Sometimes that gets in the way of progress as well. But the family just needs to support this. If they are going down a similar path of spiritual recovery, much like the alcoholic, then there is going to be an exponential growth in the positive. And in doing so, the recovery for everyone is going to be much quicker and much more positive. Rob?
Yeah, I want to go to page 217 for a second. And this is our southern friend, Fitz Mayo. And it's sort of the second paragraph. Oh, let's go for the first paragraph. I am blue again. I want to sell the place and move away. I want to get where I can find some alcoholics to help and where I can have some fellowship. A man calls me on the phone. Will I take a young fellow who has been drinking for 2 weeks to live with me? Soon I have others who are alcoholics and some who have other problems. I begin to play God. I feel that I can fix them all. I do not fix anyone, but I am getting part of the tremendous education, and I have made some new friends. Nothing is right. Finances are in bad shape. I must find a way to make some money. The family seems to think of nothing but spending. People annoy me. I try to read. I try to pray. Gloom surrounds me. Why has God left me? I mope around the house. I will not go out, and I will not enter into anything. What is the matter? I cannot understand. I will not be that way. I'll get drunk. It is a cold-blooded idea. It is premeditated. I fix up a little apartment over the garage with books and drinking water. I'm going to town to get some liquor and food. I shall not drink until I get back to the apartment, and I shall lock myself in and read. And as I read, I shall take little drinks at long intervals. I shall get myself mellow and stay that way. You know, this is the whole idea is that we begin to play God, try to fix everybody around us. You know, we do not put financial success ahead of spiritual. We never. Because what happens is if we do, our spiritual goes like that, and the obsession comes back, and we end up drinking again. So this is a warning. Take heed. And Leo, is it time to bring Mr. Bill in?
Yes, sir, it is. Thank you.
Hi, this is Bill, alcoholic from New Jersey. Thanks a lot, guys. Good job today. This is a chapter, Bill wrote this, and Bill Wilson understood, and the other people that were helping Bill with the book, all the people that were involved in putting this book together, they understood that if the alcoholic gets better and the family doesn't get better, the alcoholic's not going to stay better. It's easier to get better and stay better if you're living with people that are trying to get better and stay better. So they understood that. They knew that If you go all the way back to page 97 in Working with Others, towards the bottom of the page, it says, the family should be offered your way of life. Should they accept and practice spiritual principles, there is a much better chance that the head of the family will recover. They understood that. If the family is getting better, the family is practicing spiritual principles, there's a better chance that the alcoholic can get better. So they're trying to help the alcoholic by helping the family. And that's why they put this in here. And like was already mentioned, it keeps saying over and over again, love and tolerance and understanding. In step 10, they had that step 10 code, whatever you want to call it. Love and understanding of others is our code. So they give me instructions here so for the family and also for the alcoholic. We're supposed to show love and tolerance for each other. If you put love and tolerance into your family, you're going to get that back in return. And if the family gives it to you, you'll give it back to them in return. If you don't show love and tolerance, you're not going to get that. So Bill's trying to give some advice here or whatever on how we're supposed to live in step 10, and the family's supposed to live in step 10 too. They intended in the beginning for the family to go through this 12-step process also. This way, everybody could get a spiritual way of life, and they understood that if everybody has a spiritual way of life, there's a better chance that the alcoholic can stay sober. And like we just mentioned, it says, for us, material well-being always follows spiritual progress. That's going back to that saying that we have first things first. In other words, first you have to make spiritual progress before you're going to get your material well-being together. Because if you don't make spiritual progress and you just try to take care of your material things, the material stuff is going to go out the window when you go back out. So realistically, we have to get spiritual first before anything is going to take place in our lives. That's basically the point he's trying to get across. And that's for the family and for the alcoholic. We have to get spiritually fit before our life is going to start getting back in shape and we're going to get better. That's pretty much all I got. Thanks a lot for letting me share.
Hey, Bill, can you do me one favor before you go? You told a story yesterday about an old timer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You can tell that, please.
Yeah, when I first came into AA, people were there was certain sayings that were going around, and a lot of these old timers, they were coming up to like new people, and they were telling them, you know, I spilled more than you drank. This is their egos running wild. And somebody said that yesterday in the meeting, and it triggered my memory. When I was new in AA, somebody said that to me. They said, I spilled more than you drank. And I turned around and said to the guy, you know, if you would have drank it instead of spilling it all over the place, you might have got here when I did. You know, I was a smart. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to believe, but when I came into AA, I was a real smart aleck. I know you can't believe that today.
Thanks so much, Bill. I appreciate you more than you know.
There's certain sayings that go around at different times in different meetings in different areas, and that was one of the sayings that people were doing in meetings. The old timers were saying that. They were saying that to the newcomers. That's their egos running wild, you know. And I hope they got over that, because if you don't deflate your ego, you're probably going to wind up drinking again. You know, we think who we are, and I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. And we're all the same thing. We walk shoulder to shoulder in this thing, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder. Nobody's better than anybody. You didn't drink today, and I didn't drink today. We're the same thing.
So true. So true. And Leo, do you know what today is?
Today is the day that Bill W. Went and made all those phone calls and finally met up with Dr. Bob.
Yep. Tomorrow, Mother's Day, that's when they met up. So excellent. And we'll close with the Serenity Prayer, and then we'll take some questions.
Yep.
Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Thank you, Rob.